Eric Fleming, born Edward Heddy Jr. on July 4, 1925, in Santa Paula, California, lived through a tumultuous and challenging early life. His family life was far from ideal. He endured physical and emotional abuse at the hands of his father. These harsh conditions pushed young Edward to run away at the age of 8, seeking refuge on the streets of Los Angeles. There he struggled to survive, performing odd jobs like shining shoes and working in markets. The pain and difficulty of his early years shaped his character and fueled a determination to overcome adversity. Despite the odds stacked against him, these early experiences would eventually spark a transformation in his life, driving him to seek a better future. Turning point: military service and personal transformation. After years of hardship, Eric Fleming sought a sense of purpose and discipline by enlisting in the US Navy during World War II. His time in the Navy was transformative. Serving in the South Pacific, Fleming rose to the rank of petty officer, gaining resilience, honor, and camaraderie, which would later serve him well in his acting career. These values became the foundation for his future endeavors. After his honorable discharge, he returned home with a renewed sense of purpose and a desire to better himself both intellectually and artistically. Despite his rough start in life, Fleming had found a new path, one that would eventually lead him to Hollywood. Pursuing a career in acting, Fleming's path to acting was unconventional. After returning to civilian life, he worked as a laborer at Paramount Studios, where his rugged looks and quiet intensity caught the attention of casting agents. He began taking acting lessons to hone his craft, studying under some of the industry's best coaches. In the 1950s, Fleming started landing small roles in films and television series, including parts in Bonanza and The Silent Service. Though these were modest beginnings, they laid the groundwork for a larger career. Fleming was determined to make a name for himself, and each role brought him closer to the breakthrough he was waiting for. Breaking through with Rawhide, Fleming's big break came when he was cast as Gil Favor, the trail boss in the CBS Western series Rawhide, which aired from 1959 to 1965. His portrayal of the tough yet principled Gil Favor became iconic, cementing his status as a leading man in television. His performance was praised for its depth and authenticity, capturing the complexity of a man who had to balance the demands of a leadership with the challenges of a harsh, unforgiving environment. Rawhide became one of the most successful Western series of its time, and Fleming's role at the center of it was instrumental in its success. His on-screen relationship with Clint Eastwood, who played Rowdy Yates, added a dynamic tension that made the show even more compelling. The Rawhide shakeup, a turning point in Fleming's career. In the summer of 1965, Rawhide underwent a significant cast shakeup, one that would have lasting consequences for Eric Fleming's career. Newly appointed executive producer Ben Brady, facing declining viewership and creative challenges, decided to make drastic changes to the cast in an effort to revitalize the series. Among those dismissed was Fleming, who had been the backbone of the show since its inception. Along with Fleming, several other regulars, including Sheb Woolley and James Murdoch, were let go. The decision to fire Fleming, in particular, shocked fans and industry professionals alike, as he had been a central figure in the show's success. His departure marked the end of an era for Rawhide, and left many wondering about the future of the series. Clint Eastwood takes the lead. After Fleming's departure from Rawhide, Clint Eastwood, who played the impulsive and brash Rowdy Yates, was promoted to the position of trail boss. This shift in dynamics fundamentally changed the tone of the series. Eastwood, though a talented actor, was reportedly uneasy about assuming the lead role in such a turbulent situation. The mentor-protégé relationship between Gil Favor and Rowdy Yates had been one of the driving forces behind the show's success, and without Fleming's steady presence, that dynamic was lost. Eastwood did his best to carry the show, but the changes failed to reverse its fortunes. Rawhide struggled in the ratings, and by the end of 1965, CBS made the decision to cancel the series. Fleming's post-Rawhide career, a mixed bag. After his time on Rawhide, Eric Fleming faced challenges in reviving his career. However, he demonstrated resilience by taking on roles that allowed him to showcase his versatility as an actor. In 1966, he appeared in the romantic spy comedy The Glass Bottom Boat, starring Doris Day. Although Fleming was not the film's star, his performance as a suave spy added a touch of sophistication and mystery to the film, proving his range beyond the Western genre. He also returned to television with guest appearances in Bonanza, which gave him a chance to revisit the Western storytelling style that had defined much of his career. His performances in Bonanza were praised for their depth and complexity, particularly his portrayal of morally ambiguous characters. A tragic end, Fleming's death in Peru. On September 28, 1966, while filming High Jungle in Peru, tragedy struck. Fleming was involved in a canoeing accident on the Halaga River during the filming of a scene. The river's strong current swept him away, and though his co-star Nico Menados was able to swim to safety, Fleming was pulled under the water. The accident initially seemed like a tragic but straightforward drowning. However, as more details emerged, it became clear that the situation was far more complicated than previously believed. Fleming's body was found days later, and it showed signs of trauma that were inconsistent with a simple drowning. The official cause of death was ruled accidental, but questions about the production's safety practices and the adequacy of precautions began to surface. Uncovering the truth, the dark reality of Fleming's death. The circumstances surrounding Eric Fleming's death were shrouded in mystery for many years. Recent investigations, including interviews with surviving crew members and declassified diplomatic communications, have shed light on the true events leading up to his tragic passing. It was revealed that the production had failed to secure adequate safety equipment for the river scenes. Despite warnings from locals about the dangers of the Halaga River, Fleming and Menados filmed the scene without life vests, using a canoe that was deemed unstable for the strong current. Fleming had expressed concerns about the river's dangers just days before the accident, but budget constraints and pressure to stay on schedule led the production to ignore these warnings. A preventable tragedy, the systemic failures behind the death. The tragic death of Eric Fleming was not merely the result of a freak accident. It was a preventable tragedy caused by systemic failures within the production. The filmmakers failed to take proper safety precautions, despite knowing the risks involved. Fleming had been exhausted and dehydrated from the jungle conditions, and the scene was poorly supervised. Multiple takes were demanded to capture the perfect shot, further exhausting the actors and putting them at risk. When the canoe capsized, Fleming was pulled under by the fast-moving current, and his body showed signs of severe trauma. These injuries, along with the lack of proper safety measures, suggest that his death was both avoidable and the result of gross negligence on the part of the production team. The cover-up. How the truth was suppressed. After Fleming's death, ABC and the production team made efforts to suppress the more troubling aspects of the incident. The narrative of a simple drowning was pushed, and the crew was discouraged from speaking to the press. The producers worked closely with Peruvian officials to ensure that the investigation was closed quickly, and the matter was swept under the rug. This cover-up was compounded by the fact that the project was cancelled and the footage from High Jungle was never released. The production company and network sought to avoid public scrutiny and liability, which meant that the full truth about Fleming's death was buried for decades. Fleming's legacy, a life cut short. Eric Fleming's untimely death at the age of 41 was a devastating blow to the entertainment industry. He had overcome so much in his early life, from a difficult childhood to physical injuries, and had built a successful career as an actor. His portrayal of Gil Favor on Rawhide remains one of the defining roles in television history, and his impact on the genre is still remembered fondly. However, the dark reality of his death casts a shadow over his legacy. The circumstances of his passing serve as a stark reminder of the dangers that actors face while filming, particularly during an era when safety standards were not as stringent as they are today. Fleming's death is a tragic chapter in the history of television, one that will forever be associated with the risks and oversight that led to his untimely end. A somber reflection on the cost of fame. Eric Fleming's death highlights the hidden dangers and sacrifices that come with fame and the entertainment industry. While fans remember him for his iconic role in Rawhide, the tragic circumstances of his death reveal a darker side to his story. The systemic failures, corporate indifference, and lack of proper safety measures that led to his untimely passing are a stark reminder of the price that actors sometimes pay for their art. The truth about his death, uncovered years later, offers no comfort or closure, but serves as a cautionary tale about the real risks that actors face when the cameras stop rolling.